Scott, you serve on the Griswold School Board and you also serve as the IESB Legal Service Fund Chair. So some members may not know what this Legal Service Fund is, especially board members elected this past September. So what is it and how does it benefit school districts statewide?
The purpose of it is to provide assistance as needed to school districts that may find themselves in a legal situation that may require some additional help or funding assistance with an issue. Not only school districts, but also like community colleges, any other public entity that may be involved in a legal decision that might might impact our local school districts. The committee might then make a decision to go ahead and support that as well. So, basically the assistance that they can receive from the Legal Service Fund is either in straight financial form in the way of deferring legal costs, or it could be in the case of us filing a friend of the court brief that would allow us to make our views on a particular subject known in support of that organization.
So I'm glad you mentioned the friend of the court brief. That's actually what I'm going to ask about next. So the Legal Service Fund recently approved supporting a friend of the court brief on an open meetings law case. So can you talk about that case and why the committee voted to support it?
It's basically, the case is one that was involving the hiring of the president of the University of Iowa. And without really getting into the details itself in the case, I will say that the reason that we did get involved was absolutely important to our members, and specifically those on the committee. The definition of what an open meeting was going to, what they were asking for the court to define an open meeting as, was going to become very, very cumbersome to our school districts. When a school is brought a case against it for open meetings violation, not only is the school at risk, but the individual members themselves personally are at liability for risk. And that's something that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of when they first get on the board, that there are certain things, if you do it wrong, you could be held personally liable for it. The open meetings case is one that is usually the one that would be the most prominent in people's minds. And they should be aware of what it takes to make sure it's a legal open meeting and follow the steps that it takes to make sure you're following the rules exactly.
So as chair, what are some of the issues other than the open meetings that you've seen come up that the Legal Service Fund has supported?
Well, just in my time on there, I've got the list here in front of me. Going back to the time I've been on board, we've got the Iowa Regions case that we just talked about. Then there was a PERB board case with Oskaloosa that was talking about the definition of what base wages was going to be considered to be. There was a special assistance case about liability of the ability of a plaintiff to bring a lawsuit for money damages under the Iowa Constitution. We filed an amicus brief on that. And then finally, there was some research on what could be done about the school start date. And basically, there was no basis for action on that one, so that one didn't go very far.
So why does the committee not accept all cases?
Well, the first and primary focus needs to be is, and really that's the main issue, is first thing, does this affect our members on a statewide basis? Or is this a case that's the details of the case are so specific to an individual case that it doesn't really affect other people in the organization? Mm-hmm. I feel bad for people like that. But realistically, the job of our fund is to be able to help with cases that provide or detail a statewide significance. So that's the main hurdle it has to get over. Mm-hmm. And so, if it doesn't meet that criteria, then the request is likely to be denied.
So, how is IESB engagement in these cases funded?
There's a membership fee, so to speak, when they first join the group. Depending on the size of the district, it will be a certain amount. Then on an ongoing basis, we have in our bylaws that we need to keep enough money on hand to be able to provide the services we need to provide in a timely fashion, because there might not always be time to levy an assessment to the districts that are a member to raise the necessary funds. So we have to keep a balance of funds in that. Usually, I think we try and stay in between $10,000 and $20,000 in that fund. And sometimes it depends on what cases we might have pending and what assistance we voted to grant and what the status of those are.
So, the Legal Service Fund, you may not know this, but you probably do. It's actually established in IASB's bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's really a centerpiece of what school boards have designed the IASB to do to represent the needs of membership and legal advocacy. It's also kind of strength in numbers.
Right.
So just kind of talk about the importance of that.
It's absolutely critical that all the organizations, all the schools, all the community colleges that are members of IASB support the Legal Service Fund. I look at it kind of like insurance. It's always nice to have, but you hope you never have to use it. But it doesn't mean that it's not doing things for you. In the case of your specific school district, because it may be a case that's not against your school district, but it might be against another school district, but the outcome could affect you. So it's very important that you're able to go in there and make sure that you're a member and participate in this fund. It's very important.
Very good. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.